It's almost time to lock up the house. Then your party will really begin. I wonder how it will end. Hi, I'm Bobby, and today on Dusty Old Movies, we'll be taking our first spooky look at William Castle by reviewing The House on Haunted Hill. There'll be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. It's okay, he didn't subscribe anyway. House on Haunted Hill was brought to life by the horror director and producer, William Castle. Castle was like a carny version of Alfred Hitchcock. He was a master showman, full of personality, and he always had a crazy gimmick that helped sell every film. William Castle always did crazy things for attention, but he first entered the horror world in 1927, when he saw the original Broadway production of Dracula. That's me! Dracula wasn't an ordinary play. There were nurses in the lobby with smelling salts in case someone fainted, and hearses would deliver coffins to the theater. William Castle was mesmerized, and he kept going again and again to see it. Always gutsy, he finally worked up the courage to go backstage and meet the star, Bela Lugosi. Bela was totally charmed by him, and arranged it so he could see the show from backstage to see how it was done. And eventually, Bela even got him a job as the assistant stage manager. From that point on, William Castle knew how to put on a grand spook show. In the 1950s, William Castle saw the success of the French horror film Les Diaboliques, and told his wife that he wanted to scare the pants off of America. First he made Macabre, and he gave out $1,000 life insurance policies in case anyone died by fright. No one did. His next film was an old-fashioned haunted house story. He talked Vincent Price into being it by offering him a percentage of the profits, and he came up with a new gimmick for it, Emergo. Advertised as better than 3D, the idea of Emergo was that the skeleton in the film would emerge off the screen and into the audience. Now what they did is they had a plastic skeleton, like this but bigger and probably just as cheap, attached to a wire. And during that part in the movie, it would float above the audience. This wasn't exactly better than 3D, but it certainly made House on Haunted Hill a memorable experience. The House on Haunted Hill has had 7 murders in it, and is the only real haunted house in the world. Eccentric millionaire Frederick Loren and his 4th wife Annabelle are hosting a haunted house party there. Frederick has chosen 5 strangers as the guests, and if they survive the night, they will get $10,000 each. The guests begin to get spooked. However, more horrors arise when it's revealed that both Frederick and Annabelle have their own axes to grind. The plot is good, and it serves as a springboard for all of the spooky things, but what I really like is the atmosphere. It's not a scary or a creepy atmosphere. It's the atmosphere of a Halloween party. It's silly, spooky, and fun. And they achieve this by a long list of creative touches. Among other things, the guests arrive in funeral cars. Frederick hands out party favors in little coffins. There's a hanging woman, a creepy old crone, and of course, the skeleton that becomes alive. I love this part, and I wish I could see it in a movie theater in all its Emergo glory. It's Emergo! It's one crazy, spooky event after another. I would describe it as like watching the Addams Family or the Munsters, but done a little more seriously. It won't scare you, but it'll put a smile on your face. Speaking of which, some of the actors will also put a smile on your face, especially Vincent Price. What makes House on Haunted Hill such a fan favorite is, without a doubt, Vincent Price as Frederick Loren. Frederick is an eccentric millionaire playboy who's on his 4th wife. He's also a controlling and jealous husband, and he is the perfect host for a spooky party. Vincent Price, who was actually born in Missouri, was a character actor in Hollywood in the late 30s and 40s, but he occasionally dipped his toe into the horror genre. However, in 1953, he starred in The House of Wax and became a horror icon. He has an amazing voice, he's intelligent and charming, but always menacing, and with a touch of humor, making him perfectly in sync with The House on Haunted Hill. He is so great at dark comedy, and my favorite scenes are when he's with his wife, and the back and forth that they have together. Do you remember what fun we had when you tried to poison me? Something you ate, the doctor said. Yes, arsenic on the rocks. It's so funny. But even in this film, he is sinister. At one point he gets angry and chokes Watson Pritchard. And you think he might kill him. It's a genuinely scary moment. What do you mean by coming in here? You're drunk. Out with it, Pritchard! Why did you come in this room? Speaking of his wife, it takes talent to zing back macabre jokes with Vincent Price, and Carol Omart totally does it as Annabelle Lauren, originally planned as the next Marilyn Monroe. When that bottomed out, she turned to TV and cheap horror films. She is so good here. She's evil, angry at her husband, and even though it's just implied, she's also a total floozy. But I like her. I'm engaged with her character, and I'm anxious to see what crazy thing is she gonna do next. The final character who makes the movie is Elijah Cook as Watson Pritchard. Walter owns the house and allows Frederick to rent it. He's only spent one night there, and it almost killed him. Now he's an alcoholic and is spending this night in the house because he needs the money. Mr. Norton did a great deal of experimenting with wines, but his wife didn't like it, so he filled a vat with acid and threw her in. He is such a tortured and beaten down character who tells the group terrifying tales of the house. Elijah is a little bit on the hammy side, but because of the campy nature of the film, I think he hits the perfect note of being believable but also over the top. These three actors are part of why I love this film. However, there are also some weaknesses. Because this film was shot in 2 weeks, it's not going to be perfect. But there are a couple major weaknesses that do hurt the film. First of all, even though it's campy, I think it would grab you more if it was spookier. As I mentioned, the scene where Vincent Price chokes Pritchard is scary, so if there were a few more moments like that, it would be a more compelling film. And because of Price, the humor would still be there. The second issue is that aside from the three characters I talked about, the rest of the characters are one-dimensional and kind of dull. I know a couple of them have to play it straight for the story to work, but there's a journalist in the film named Ruth Bridges who owes gambling debts. She's such a missed opportunity, because you could have either played up the drama aspect of her owing money and make her interesting, or because she's a journalist, you could have totally camped her up, which is what I was expecting. But they don't do either. As a result, when the three main characters aren't on screen, or when nothing crazy is happening, I do start to lose interest. Despite a few flaws, House on Haunted Hill was a huge hit, and the kids loved Emerjo. In those days, you could stay in a theater and see a movie multiple times. So typically, the kids would be scared of the skeleton the first time, and then throw things at it and try to knock it down during the second showing. The film's success also inspired director Alfred Hitchcock to make his own low-budget horror film, to show how high quality they could be made. It was called Psycho. In 1999, House on Haunted Hill was also remade, and the co-producer was William Castle's daughter, Terry. House on Haunted Hill is not a great horror film, but it doesn't try to be. It tries to be a fun horror film, and for the most part, it succeeds. So I give it 3 coffin party favors out of 4. As a side note, this film is in public domain, so if you want to watch it, it's available on YouTube for free! So, thank you for watching Dusty Old Movies, and have a haunting day!